Let's go. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Welcome to our weekly episode here at Cake DeFi. We have quite some exciting topics. We're gonna discuss, obviously, what's happening at FTX, what are our thoughts here. We're gonna look at macro. We're gonna obviously talk about the past week that's happening at the Cake DeFi company. If you're watching this and you have a bit of a different kind of view, I'm struggling a bit with the camera. Um, Camera got pushed over, and now I'm struggling setting this thing up. I think I have a totally different shadow, lighting, color scheme. Annoys the living crap out of me. I don't know how to fix this. I need someone to come over and probably adjust this. I don't even know how to work that camera. I think that's a bit of the issue in all of that. So I hope you forgive me if the quality is not as normal. Obviously, if you're just listening to the audio, I think it's all fine. It definitely a lot of drama at the moment. So I think a lot to discuss. Fabio, how's everything going?
If you were not watching this on YouTube, but if you're just on Twitter, it's a very luxury problem that Julian has. Like he has like the best camera setup ever. I'm pretty jealous, but it's
No,
a little
dude.
bit darker than
Look. I
usual.
mean, come on. I've never had that much shadow. I don't understand where this is now coming from, and I feel I'm really, really dark. And it's definitely not my white shirt. It's something in the setup that when the camera got pushed over. Gladly, nothing broke. At least I hope nothing broke. Yeah.
Yeah, like initially yesterday, I was thinking about naming the Twitter space, and I was a little bit in between naming this FTX Insolvent or the other thing that went through my head. Is this the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning? Uh,
Okay, but yesterday, all of this didn't look as terrible as it looks right now. I mean, yesterday, everything was still holding up. FTT price was above 22. So Alameda's offer was lowballing Binance. Now, I think it dipped all the way down to like 1550. The crazy thing is the entire sell off. I don't know if you watched this because probably not because you were sleeping at that time because it was like 4 a.m. in Europe. But all of this happened 11 a.m. here in Singapore. And I know because we were sitting with the executive team and we were just playing. And I was like, holy crap, there's just a massive sell candle coming in. And the reason why I think this is relevant is because that's like 12 a.m. Bahamas time. So I think whoever made that sell candle did that, in my opinion, either like very coincidentally, very without much intentions at 12 a.m. Bahamas time. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was just I don't know, and I was just waiting for the tweet. Steady, let's deploying extra funds. Yeah.
so I think in the later part of the Twitter space, we're definitely going to address the whole FTX and Binance thing, or SBF and CZ. But we might want to start with some cake news, or do you
Yeah,
want to do
let's
it
do
the other
that.
way around?
I love that. Let's start with that, and then we kind of talk about the juicy, nitty gritty stuff that's happening. Let me get the screen share up. We put out the transparency report last week on Friday. You can read this in greater detail. We're gonna link this up below, so just take a look. I think the key kind of things we've been growing the team tremendously. We have hit over 150 team members. This is super exciting. Um, it was our very first quarter, though, in a long time where we had an operational loss. However, because of the treasury doing well and crypto went up in Q3, we at the end stayed cash flow positive. Our treasury is having 5 to 8 years of runway. It just depends on 5 years if you just count dollars, 8 years if you count crypto on top. So everything is on the very solid side on our end. Obviously, we don't hope we need to dig into our treasury, but we would be ready to do so if we have to. So I think all of that went really well. We had to change a bit of our marketing strategy. Going to see a lot more. Actually, probably already this week. Maybe there's a little bit of a teaser at the end of this week. So let's see. We are really going to document the journey. We're going to create way more content and way more value for you. So I think that's going to be quite exciting. We paid out $18 million in rewards to you, our customers. So yeah, it's really amazing to see you all taking control of your financial destiny at our company. I think that's amazing. Yeah, we prepared everything for our new office. We at the end, originally the plan was actually to move in at the beginning of October. That took a bit longer though, and then we moved in at the beginning of November. New office address is there, 20 Cecil Street. We're in the 18th floor. We have the entire floor. You're happy to visit. I get a lot of questions about this. You do not have to pre-register to visit unless you want to meet someone specific. Then obviously it does help if you write a message and see if that specific person is there. Otherwise, as long as someone is there, you are happy to visit and take a look. Yeah, it's not finished yet though. We're expecting the office, it's going to be a bit of a step-by-step process until, let's say, probably until the new year, until really everything is finalized. So yeah, that's I think quite cool. And then obviously kind of looking maybe a bit forward, we're really gonna focus, especially 2023, it's gonna be retail and institutions. We launched that at Singapore FinTech Festival, enterprise.cakedefi.com. Take a look. It's absolutely unique in the market. This end-to-end custodial solution that has reporting, segregated funds, has very strong multi-signature functionalities, multi-chain approach, so to have access into various kind of approaches. The auditability, that's super, super key, and that full transparency from an audit standpoint and also from a taxation standpoint. That's actually really, really key. If you are a fund manager or family office, you understand that being able to mark your assets, mark to market, not only your liabilities. For those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, totally irrelevant. For those of you listening who understand what I'm talking about, this is going to hit home right away. So that's going to be possible with that solution. With most solutions, that's actually not possible. So that was super exciting. Obviously, there's going to be a strong focus on that. Don't worry, we're not going to at all actually deviate from the B2C approach. Retail, our customers, we're going to have a very strong focus on you. We're going to add more and more functionalities, more and more promotions, rewards, various ideas. We have some really cool things also planned for 2023, new approaches in how we can be even more useful to you. So I think that's going to be really, really exciting in all of that. So yeah, I think that's kind of a bit of the summary. I don't know, Fabio, for you, Q3 kind of reflection from everything that's happening for Q4, what kind of sticks out to you before we go into some of the specifics here that I kind of picked out from the last week?
Yeah, so for me, the biggest change, or maybe it's a little bit of the basement or the foundation that we laid, is the launch of Earn product. And we started out with Bitcoin, and you can expect probably within this quarter, maybe even within this month, for us to expand the product line. And Earn is a pretty revolutionary product because it's for a newbie, maybe to simplify it, it's something like lending but without any counterparty, and which this is a true DeFi product, and pretty revolutionary. And we're going to expand these offerings in this quarter, and we might expand it even more next year. And for us, so this was addressed multiple times during last year and even the year before that. The end vision of Cake is, of course, we call that going multi-chain. So integrating other ecosystems and more chains, more tokens. And it's finally happening, probably also within this quarter. I don't want to promise any timelines, but we're definitely moving very fast into that direction. So other than that, reflections in Q3, for me personally, I feel we finally have gotten in some key players, some key talent, especially, so I'm a big fan of our new COO. He has a lot of experience. He came from Microsoft or LinkedIn. LinkedIn is Microsoft, and he has, like, it's crazy. If you talk to him, he has so much experience, and the way he approaches things is crazy. And I think I'm actually not sure what the job title is, but we got in a new VP of design, I think. and working together with him is mind blowing. Like the way he approaches user experience and user interface is amazing, and there will be drastic changes on how our app will look like and feel like, much more intuitive, much more natural. And with that, like, these are probably, we got in a lot more people, not just those two, but just to highlight two key players that will be able to bringing the experience that we need to move into the direction that we want to move. So yeah, hiring was a key, earn product was a key, and for me, so this is very personal for me, but of course, working in the crypto space, so both Julian and me have spent multiple years in the industry, and you never know what a bear market might bring. So Cake got set up in the midst of a bear market, so it never experienced a full-fledged bear market as we're in right now, so a 70, 80, 90% correction in most assets. And that's always like some shadow hanging over everybody that is in the industry. And you can really see that right now, especially in the second half of the Twitter space, when we are going into probably one of the biggest players in the industry, somebody that was considered super solid and one of the biggest, if not the biggest or most promising players in the industry. And I'm super happy that we have our shit together, that the company, like as Julian shared, we can pay our bills for the next 5 years. We are still hiring, we are still expanding, we're still growing. And I'm very, very happy that the things turned out as they did for us. So these were a little bit of my personal highlights.
I mean, full on. I mean, we never leveraged our balance sheet. We never took any kind of excessive risk. Yeah, I agree. So far, knock on wood, our decision making has been quite good. So yeah, yeah, cool. Couple of things as I mentioned. Pay attention to maybe some really cool kind of stuff on YouTube coming out. We had a bit of a teaser here with the video of the office and kind of the very beginning. So let's see. We hopefully have some more kind of exciting things in all of that. Yeah, last week, Singapore FinTech Festival. My goodness, was that crazy? Was that busy? What I want to obviously shout out to is the entire team organizing this. Heck of a work, but it was also just really, really exciting to see the kind of interest. And I had a 10-minute keynote that's going to be coming out on YouTube. That's a TED style kind of talk. There was a super long panel discussion with a lot of the industry leaders. u-zyn had a talk on DeFi and yield. Glenn and u-zyn both gave a lot of talks around our booth, and the interest was just absolutely mind-boggling. Not only for institutions, and I mean, it was really targeted for institutions, and FinTech Festival is more of a B2B event, not so much a B2C event. But just how many of you dropped by, said hi, and yeah, it was just really, really cool. I tried to spend, especially on Friday, I tried to spend a lot of time there as well. The rest of the week was insanely busy with the office move-in. But so yeah, that was really, really cool as a whole. So yeah, I think that was really nice. What else can you expect? Our staking is going well for Ethereum, obviously also for DFI. On Ethereum, we are hopefully soon going to hit 10,000 staked ETH. We got the approval on DeFi chain to get CS ETH there, which is basically a liquid form of staked ETH. And then next week, if everything goes to plan, you are going to be able to unstake if that is what you want. Obviously, understand there is an open market and there is a 0.5% swap commission. So you will lose some, you will lose slightly on that. Keep in mind, this is purely a service as a secondary market. Ethereum at the moment doesn't allow for any unstaking, so this is just basically building around that. And then we are expecting more and more liquidity there, and then depending on how how many people are interested in taking over at the small, there will be a small discount. Yeah, this is your opportunity to have immediate liquidity. So that's going to be quite key. This Friday, 11/11, we're going to launch a special 11/11 promotion, and also around the World Cup, which obviously is going to start on the 20th. We're going to have a very special promotion. Key for both promotions, you need to have a KYC account on Cake. So yeah, make sure you have a KYC account, and obviously make sure you're getting cash flow on that account. Just having a KYC account is not so fun. And then last but not least, Ghostbusters or Cakebusters finished last week. The keyword was baker. I think many of you guessed that correctly. So we're gonna draw I think 5 winners. This is going to happen this Friday. This is going to be video recorded. This is going to be for full documentation. We're going to do this all very professionally. And then 5 of you are going to get very special Cake Buster swag from us. It's going to be quite cool, quite exciting. Hopefully we get some nice pictures. Maybe we even get a bit of an unboxing or maybe an appreciation video. That would be super nice and quite exciting. Yeah, these are the main things that I have from my side from the past week, a bit on for the next couple of days. It's insanely busy on our side. We really, I think the content schedule until Christmas is really packed. Release schedule really, really packed. So everything left and right at full steam ahead. Yeah, I don't know, Fabio, if I missed anything on what you feel we need to address from the past week or this week or the coming week. These are the things that I see from a CEO kind of point of view.
I don't really have something to add. Just as usual, if you have been with us for a year or maybe even for 2 years, you know that usually November and December, at least November and the first week of December, are usually the period where we push out the most and where we are the strongest. We like to finish off the year strong. We did that in 2020, we did that in 2021, and we are about to do that in 2022 as well. So be prepared. We have a few really nice things to push out, promotions, new products, and so on.
Yeah, the good horses start the race strong and finish even stronger. So yes, great. That's it from the Cake update side. Great. Let's go into the very emotional drama kind of side. I don't know, Fabio, do you want to start? How did this all begin? I don't know, maybe some background information that you want to share. Yeah, let's kind of discuss a bit of the drama that's happening at the moment in the entire crypto markets.
Okay. Maybe for a few of you, this will be basic information. For others, it's probably interesting. So both Binance with its CEO CZ and FTX with its CEO SBF, they're amongst the biggest players in the industry, and especially the last year, FTX made a lot of headlines with its strategic decisions. So they bailed out BlockFi, they placed a bid for Celsius, they expanded their offerings, they made great investments in Solana. SBF had a lot of attention. I think at one point, his net worth was up, I think, double digits in the billions. So I think the estimations were between 10 and 14 billion for quite a young guy. And he's super smart. If you ever listened to him, he can speak very well, and he's very strategic. And you could say the same thing about CC from Binance as well. And a lot of people actually don't know that, but in 2019, CZ, so the CEO of Binance, actually helped incubate FTX. They had a pretty big investment. I'm not sure. I think it's upwards of 2 billion. And this investment, it got, I think he received part Tether and part FTX token in return. And so within the last 2 weeks or so, there were big Twitter accounts. Like the first time I saw it was on Dylan McClare's Twitter, where they looked into, and I think a report from CoinDesk came out where they looked into some financial statements and some allocations, some investments of FTX, and they found out that some of their investments are actually super illiquid, and that they're very much overexposed in illiquid tokens like their own token FTT, which doesn't really provide a lot of utility. So compared to, for example, BNB provides a lot of utility, and it's established itself as probably, I would say, that one of the top three coins this year, and also the year before. It did very, very well, and CZ has a lot of great plans. FTT is not so liquid and does not provide that much liquidity. And there were some concerns raised by these reports by a few Twitter accounts that FTX doesn't seem to be doing that well. Everybody, like if you go back 4 months, everybody would have said, wow, FTX is doing great, and they're probably will raise among the best players in the industry with the next bull cycle, because they were just on a buying spree. They were making offers left and right. They were doing investments left and right, and everybody was like, wow, how is this possible? Can they be so strong? Because they're only like 2.5 years old. And now it looks like they're actually not doing that great. And CZ is practically calling SBF out on his bullshit, I would say. And he said, hey, we're looking to sell our allocation in FTT. And then I think Caroline, the CEO or the co-CEO of FTX, they approached
Alameda.
him.
Of Alameda.
Alameda Research, exactly. And they said publicly to CZ, hey, we're offering to do an OCT deal at $22, which is also kind of the support level on the chart, or it was the support level.
So yesterday, yeah.
So it was very strategic for them to offer this at $22. But CC practically said, no, we're dumping this on the market, which I guess he did. And now,
I mean, okay, let's stay factually.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know, right? So let's be sure that we try to stay as factual as possible. So obviously, we don't know if that candle today at 11 a.m. Singapore time, 12 a.m. Bahamas time was intentional. We don't know. It was interestingly timed for sure. We don't know where this happened at the moment. We don't really know yet where the source was from. So yeah, but there was very clear intentions from, or very clear signs from, at least from ZC on Twitter. Now, we all know Twitter is not the real world, so we just have to be kind of clear on this, yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to be sure that not someone is listening to this and then makes insinuations, yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. That's 100% correct. So the question is this the beginning of the end? I saw, I think Kugi tweeted this today, and he said, it's very convenient because all the bottom callers that said, hey, the bottom is in, they can use this as an excuse and say, hey, for this reason, we're going to go lower, because if FTX actually blows up, or if this has far-reaching consequences, that of course would be similar to the Celsius event earlier this year. And CZ also is in a kind of interesting position, because on one hand, he's like publicly fighting a big competitor. Maybe to just make a comparison between the two. So FTX holds, I think, 300 million Bitcoin on its balance sheet. Binance almost holds 14 billion. So 300 million, 14 billion. There's a big difference between the two. So Binance is definitely the gorilla, but FTX was catching up strong. So he's addressing a direct competitor. And I don't know how this is going to end, but I guess the fire is on, or the drama is on. If you just look at the exchanges the two have on Twitter, it's on fire. And it's hard to say how this is going to play out, but it doesn't look so good for FTX at the moment.
Yeah, I think a couple of things I want to add. I think first and foremost, and I made a couple of tweets, and it seems such tweets trigger the people the most, even though actually that tweet is factually completely correct. And the reason why people get triggered is because people don't like facts. They want to have their own kind of opinions reinforced. And so fact of the matter is, except for probably a handful, maybe two handful of people in this entire world, none of us know what's really happening right now. We don't know if that drop by 20% on FTT and that Solana drop that gets tied, like closely tied to that, stems from Binance. We don't know that. It could just be that there was just a lot of panic selling by people, and at some point the level kind of broke and then it dropped further down. So if you are trying to play this, if you're trying to trade this, if you're trying to make any insinuations, understand that you probably don't even understand the players, you don't even understand the game, you don't even understand the rules, you don't even understand the fact of the matter. So you're just basically going into a dark room. You have no clue who's in that room. You don't know what kind of game these guys are playing, and you're just trying to place bets there. So that's fine. I mean, that's just going into a casino, and you don't know what number is going to be called next, and that's okay. Just be aware that if you come out of this and you made money out of this, be very, very careful if you tie that money to great decision making, or if you tie that money to just sheer luck. If you lose money out of this, be very, very careful if you tie these decisions to bad luck or to simply bad decision making. And so I mentioned this a couple of times. I would never, ever, ever dare to keep a short or long position in this. I would never dare to interact at the moment with these entities, either on a personal or on a business level, because why would I? I mean, I don't understand why would I want to have that additional risk exposure. So this is just pure risk exposure, right? And like if you think about most things in your life when you probably had dramatic things happening to you many, many times. It's actually completely insignificant things that are giving you little upside reward that actually cause dramatic downside. And there's this very famous quote by Nassim Taleb that says, "The future is not shaped by probabilities, but by the improbable things that have dramatic outcomes, aka black swans." And so it's exactly the same thing here, right? So you probably don't want to approach a situation like this and try to be a hero or try to bet on something because you have no effing clue what's going on. So, like, that is the fact of the matter. There's probably two hands of people in the world who really know what's going on, and and that's it. Because I'm not sure how many people at FTX know what's happening at Binance, and we don't know how much Binance knows what's happening at FTX, and we don't even know what their all intentions are. If this is just a Twitter kind of fight, right? So we don't know. So let's just get this out of the way first of all. I think that's really key to remind. Um, Second of all, in order to really understand possible consequences of all of this, you need to understand that Alameda Research is not FTX. You need to understand that a lot of the revenue, the entire kind of group they're made, is actually coming from Alameda and not so much from FTX. FTX in all of it is only a small part of the entire revenue. And the larger part actually comes from Alameda, which has always been a big criticism because a lot of people just say that FTX is actually just a fake front as an exchange, and where the actual money is being made is actually with the fund that trades against customers. Now, who knows how much of that is true and how much is not true, but that has just always been the rumor. But the fact of the matter is that the fund just made tons of money. And so it's also difficult to kind of tie facts from a June partial balance sheet and draw conclusions how this looks like today. So all of that is just very tricky, very iffy. I know a couple of people who withdrew funds this morning. These are friends of mine. They said withdrawing took a little bit longer than usual, but I mean, I wouldn't read too much into this. I mean, if there are like panic withdrawals on an exchange and the exchange is kind of operating day and night, I wouldn't read too much into this. So just because something takes a bit longer, I think that's absolutely normal if there's like a huge load on that. Um, yeah, I think in all of it, it's obviously there's like from the outside, right? It's purely from the outside. I think from the outside, a couple of things that are weird is why. So it seemed in at least on Twitter, right? So again, we don't know was there any WhatsApping going on, was there any calls going on? We don't know, right? And many times on Twitter, people are completely different than they are in real life. And I'm speaking out of my own kind of experience there as well. On Twitter, at least, it seemed that SBF was way more trying to calm the waves, where Binance was real, or CC was really kind of trying to be aggressive, right? There was this one tweet where someone posted that FTX doesn't have any stable coins kind of left as an exchange reserve. It was like kind of empty. And then there was this question on, well, with what kind of funds is FTX trying to buy back the FTT? And then CC posted under that, like that, well, I don't know emoji, right? So kind of that question mark kind of emoji. And so, I mean, obviously, it's just a sign, right? So it's like more of a, okay, you know what? Like, I'm ready. Let's go. Right. So it felt kind of like, and then obviously when Caroline offered that $22 deal, which now would be exciting, right? I mean, now this would be a massive kind of upside. But CC also seemed to kind of clearly imply, at least on Twitter, that he would rather trade this thing on the open market, which, sure, I mean, look, there could be a lot of reasons for that, right? There could be the reasons that he thinks he could get a better price than the $22. Maybe he would have less risk. An OTC deal, I mean, for those of you that have never done an OTC deal, maybe you don't know. There's always the massive, massive question on custodial ship, like who transfers the funds first. Like, think this through, right? It's a lot of money. I mean, we're talking about $500 million to $600 million. So who goes first? Do we find a custodian, a third party in the middle? Right? There's just a lot of questions that many times people that have never done OTC deals, and I don't know, I've done, I think, not hundreds, that would be exaggerated, but dozens of OTC deals. And I mean, it's always the same questions, right? Who goes first? So who transfers the funds first? Who do we trust more? What happens if the price moves in between, right? There's just so many questions that constantly pop up there that maybe someone like CC says, hey, you know what? Like, I'm an exchange. I have professional market makers, $600 million, no problem. We're easily going to get this through. And I don't want to deal with all this BS on the OTC kind of side. Like, just kind of, you need to see both sides to that, right? Not always only see, and don't always think that there's bad intentions in CC or bad intentions in SBF, but try to always see the other side. But always try to see the good and the bad side in something. I think that's absolutely key, right? And if you tend to see someone in a bad light, what could be the good intention, right? And the other way around. So I think that's key to understand there. And yeah, and then also understand, right, that CC brought this up. And again, could just be a lie, could just be a story. He brought up that he didn't want to get burned again like he got burned in Luna. So, I mean, is this a fair point? Sure. I mean, I think it's a fair point. I mean, look, I know Binance and CC are super wealthy, but $500 million, that's not nothing. That's a lot of money. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, 2 years ago, a year ago, when I got out of FTX equity deal and I got $2.1 billion, and part of that was in FTT and the other part was in BUSD. And now maybe those $2.1 billion dropped in value and it's worth only $1 billion. And now I don't want to lose another like $500 million. Well, I think it makes sense to kind of try to exit that position. And maybe CC doesn't want to pressure FTT or FTX. He just wants to get out because maybe he kind of anticipates that we're very close to a margin call. Rumors had it that margin calls would be coming in at $20. Don't know if that is true. And so maybe CC just says, hey, you know what? I don't want to deal with all this. Let me get out. So I just want to be very clear that we really don't know what's happening. What we see is the results. We don't know exactly the processes that got us to these results. Personally, and that's obviously the real key thing here, I really hope for all of us as a crypto community that we actually see this scenario of FTX being next in all of this. So basically, Luna going first, blowing up Three Arrows, blowing up Celsius, blowing up Voyager, blowing up FTX. That this FTX blow up actually does not happen, and that actually there is a recovery. I mean, if you just look, FTX is now down 20% over the last 24 hours. Solana was down way worse, but now it has recovered. It's about down minus 10%. They were the two worst performing coins over the past 24 hours. Now it kind of recovered. And any kind of token or coin that's kind of somehow connected to FTX and to that Solana Alameda kind of nightmare is really underperforming everything else. So Also, I mean, all of it, like, and we're going to reflect on this when we talk about macro at the end. But I mean, at the end, the Fed numbers looked good, right? Markets really did well. Crypto did well. Stocks did well. Stocks at the moment are still doing well since then. Crypto did well. Sold off dramatically. When we're going to talk about the political like things happening today with midterms, inflation numbers on Thursday, it's absolutely crazy if you trade these things, how you can be right about a lot of assumptions. And then remember, it's not all the cars you see coming that gonna run you over. It's that one car you don't see that runs you over. And I said this so many times. How many times over the last 2 years did you have very strong assumptions about something and then something popped up, be it COVID in the very first place, be it the crazy money printing that came in right afterwards, all the rallies that happened right afterwards, obviously, like the cool down, Ukraine kind of conflict, and, right? There's so many things. And to me, that was just such a strong reminder that anyone who bet, like who went leverage long and say, you know what, like this looks such a strong setup for crypto, and now crypto did this massive pullback from like over 21,000 down to 19,500, which is like, I think, almost a 10% pullback, right? So if you went leverage long, and this would probably have wiped you out. So just a really strong reminder. I don't know, Fabio, please add some flavor to that or some other stories, other things that you see.
Yeah, so I actually would love to give this a personal twist, and these are not the facts. This is my personal opinion. I feel that SBF, in my opinion, I had this feeling for quite a while, but it became more prominent to me within the last few months. But he has a very, in my opinion, dubious approach when it comes to regulation. So he's very negative against Bitcoin and against proof of work. And sorry, this is just me personally. I'm a Bitcoiner first. It was the first crypto asset I ever bought, and I'm in this for the financial revolution. And he voiced a lot of concerns about Bitcoin's energy usage, and he was very negative against Bitcoin. This was the first moment when I was like, okay, I don't know what this guy's agenda is. And then there was this big discussion where he approached basically, or he wrote an open letter about regulation. And between the lines, it's very, very visible that he's a bridge burner, or he wants to take the leather away for other people. He grew very fast. He built an empire. And with the things he wants to do and the approach he has, he practically wants to take the leather away for everybody that wants to follow him. So the way he approaches regulation, and Eric Voorhees, he called him out for this in a public debate where Sam wants to, he's very pro know your customer, very pro anti-money laundering. A bit too, because the question, the main question in this discussion between Eric and Sam was, should DeFi be regulated? And Eric has a very open approach. He doesn't think that we should over-regulate or very fast step in and regulate this, and Sam does. And Eric made a great comparison. He said, compare this to email. If email was set up the way that every front end and every back end. So, for example, if you want to use Gmail, you need to do KYC to do Gmail. That would be devastating. Everything would be tracked. Everything would be tied to a person, to an identity. And right now, email can be done anonymously. Of course, you need, if you want to do this professionally, you should set up your own email server, which nobody does. But there is the possibility to communicate via email protocol completely anonymously. And the same thing should be possible for crypto as well. And SBS, and I can see that CC also sees this, that SBF has a very questionable agenda, a very questionable approach when it comes to regulation. And this is what bothers me. I like that FTX is a great exchange. They have the lowest fees. They provide a great service. They are fast. The user interface is great. But they also have a questionable agenda. where sometimes I ask myself, are they really acting in the best interest of the broader crypto space, or are they just acting in their own interest? And CZ, he is a very likable person. He has good values. At least, of course, he's very smart. He's pushing Binance. He's running a great company and everything. But he also represents the people a little bit with his approach. And I think this might play into this whole game as well, that CZ is practically saying, hey, if you're approaching the space like you are right now, I'm not going to make business with you, but I'm going to push into another direction. At least that's only my personal interpretation of this. Yeah, I don't know what you think about that, Julian.
No, I mean, I listened to that conversation. I think that was on the Bankless podcast. I listened to that. I thought very good conversation. I mean, I respect. I don't know SBF at all. Never met him. Never, at least not that I remember. Never spoke to him. I've known Eric for a very long time. We met. I don't know how often, but we met several times. And I think I have a very deep respect for Eric. I respect him because very early on he went against. He stayed true to the values of a libertarian, and I appreciated that and I respected that. And he didn't fall for that tribalism that we see sometimes, and he really kind of stayed true to the principles. And I think that's key, right? So not true to the outcome, true to the principles, and that's very, very different. And so he's a very principled person. I love the way he argues. Some of the best, like, actually debates he has ever had was with Peter Schiff. I actually think these debates are outstanding. The very old ones especially, I still think, like, those age like wine. I think it's really, really nice to see. And so yeah, I followed that. Again, I always see this. I see this also a bit different, probably just because I have that CEO hat as well. So I always see a bit of that conflict internally also, where I think something that I would love to see as an investor, as a user, should be one way, and then I have my CEO hat on and I need to kind of change positions there. I think that is a bit of an advantage that Eric has now, that he doesn't run Shapeshift anymore. I think that is a very strong advantage, right? And and yeah, so I do, again, I don't see only the bad side. I want to see the good side in SBF as well, and give him some credit. And could he have done that better? For sure. It's just, again, I see this in myself also, where sometimes I would love to kind of push into a certain direction, and then I sit there and I'm like, yeah, okay, but I also have a lot of responsibility, and I see other things as well, and then that kind of pushes it around as well. So, but I am aligned there. Yeah. Um, yeah, I really think I speak for the entire industry if we say the best really would be if this gets solved amicably, if maybe there's a lot of misunderstanding, if CC and SBF can hug this out, can, I don't know, if CC wants to get rid of his FTT, which is absolutely fair and reasonable, maybe they can find a way how to do this, or if they actually sold the FTT. This was it, and now it's FTX's chance to kind of. I mean, now everyone at FTX must be awake. So maybe now we should be steady and deploying more funds. So maybe now this is all going to get resolved. Let's see. That would be great, and that would be the best. The worst would really be if we are seeing a Celsius 2.0 here. That would be really dramatic. Also, don't understand, there is a lot of lending going on to Alameda. And so if they are going to have some solvency issues, again, that's not necessarily FTX. Understand that these are two different things. But if Alameda has solvency issues, this would be, I'm not sure. I think this would actually be more dramatic than Three Arrows, for the simple reason, because Three Arrows, there was just a lot of funds that then kind of got liquidated. Sure, Celsius, Voyager, and there was a lot of companies, but Alameda, that is very systemic, and I think a lot of people would underestimate the issues there. So, and keep one thing in mind: the the collateral is completely liquid there. So it's basically it goes into air. So that's something to really be careful about. So fingers crossed. I really hope we're going to see something positive out of this. Let's finish with something, I think, more on the positive side. At least I would think it's positive. Let's finish with macro right now, unless, Fabio, you want to add some other things.
Let's go into macro.
Yeah, actually, we're going to see this tactical, in my opinion, tactical opportunity until the end of the year, where macro is actually going to look positive until the end of the year. At least that's my assessment. I've had this assessment for the last 4 months. Again, this is absolutely not financial advice, but we could see a bit of an upswing. Key, obviously, right now is crypto gonna join the party, and that's going to depend on a situation like this right now. If we're going to see such a situation worsening, obviously crypto is not joining the party, and if this is all going to get hugged out, then we actually may probably see a very kind of relief rally, and this could be a very strong kind of opportunity. But so what's been happening? Actually, everything quite constructive as expected. We are right in the middle of step 2 right now, which means we are right in the middle of the second key event of November, which are the US elections on November 8th. It's right here in the middle. Last week, as expected, we did have the Fed come out, 75 basis points. The key thing was the statement they're going to keep selling off their balance sheet, and they want to keep raising rates. Let's see. But they mentioned that they're going to they're gonna take matters a bit. They look at things a bit more closely, and so the market initially was, as expected, super volatile. At the end, though, the market really kind of realized, okay, this is actually quite constructive. So far, probabilities for the next rate hikes are unchanged. Probability still either 0.5% or even 0.75% in December. So that would be a very aggressive kind of push towards 4.5%. And then in the end of January, beginning of February meeting, we would actually get very close to the 5% kind of rate. That's actually the most likely scenario from today's perspective. But, and this is really, really key in all of this. We do see Meta coming out and saying we are firing, for the first time in our history, a significant amount of people. And these are, and this is really key because we're talking about very high-end personnel. Twitter last week obviously announced they're going to let go of a lot of people. A lot of large tech companies right now letting go. Facebook is the first of the super tech companies in the US. Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon, Meta, out of those 5, it's now the first one that admits that they're going to start mass kind of firing. The others have only said we're going to do full stops in hiring, but there's no larger scale kind of layoffs. Now, the key thing, how do you think the market reacted? I don't know, Fabio, have you been following what the Meta stock did since then?
I'm not 100% sure since the announcement, but I'm following Meta quite closely because I personally think it's actually no, and not yet, but I think it's extremely interesting right now, and it's a controversial view because a lot of people think it's a dying company. I don't think so at all.
Yeah, I mean, since the announcement, I mean, the stock is down, I think, 80% or 75% from its all-time high. Since this announcement, the stock pumped, and it pumped for very obvious reasons because this is something shareholders have been requesting for a very long time in keeping the companies lean. And I mean, just a lot of the tech companies, they're just completely bloated, and they need to get lean. And I think the other companies will follow suit. I think Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, they're all going to go and they're also going to do layoffs. The question is just how are they going to communicate that? How are they going to phrase that? But all of them, they just got bloated normal. And so why am I mentioning this? Because obviously that is one of the criteria that the Fed looks at in the next meeting for how does it see the economy. Obviously, high or rising unemployment would be a thing that the Fed says, hey, let's wait a little bit. So that is why there is a bit of a tactical approach to all of this right now, where maybe the December meeting actually doesn't become that bearish as some people would expect. The second thing is, and that's obviously also a key factor, is today we have midterm elections. This is the latest forecast from 5:30. It's the forecasts are closed because the voting is now close to start or has started in some states already. Maybe 7 a.m. I'm not sure when the opening. Doesn't matter. At the moment, the Republicans are favored to win the Congress, win the entire Congress. So both the House, they are very clearly favored 84-16, and they are slightly favored to win also the Senate, 59-41. We mentioned why could this be bullish? Very simple. The Democrats are generally more in favor of having some relief programs, especially until the end of the year. So they may push everything through what's possible because on January 3rd, that would be when the handover would happen. And so then you can kind of expect a very chaotic 2023, 2024, which is going to be, all over the place with a lot of blocking, a lot of opposition, gridlocks. Democratic president with Joe Biden, Republican Congress. That's, I mean, from a governance standpoint, I mean, you have a lot of checks and balances there. You're probably not going to get anything done. So for 2 years, it's just going to be gridlock. You can even expect that there may be times when the US would be insolvent or unable to pay their liabilities because there wouldn't be enough approval. So it's just going to get crazy next year if that happens. But until the end of the year, we may see a tactical kind of rally. And then the last thing, and that's going to happen actually on Thursday, are inflation numbers. And here the expectation for the inflation is that we're going to see 8%. I do see a chance, though, not saying this is probable. I do see a chance, though, that we're going to get positively surprised and we're going to see a lower reading of 7 something. So maybe 7.8, 7.9. But I think if just that number 7 is in front, that would be a significant kind of push. And then the other thing that I just want to highlight here, and now here are my slides. The other thing that I want to kind of highlight here, we're going to see another inflation reading actually in December, where on the 13th of December, we're going to see the November CPI numbers, and then we have even more chance to drop. And then only on the 14th, we actually have the next Fed meeting. So very, very, very interesting kind of approach. I am not changing my view at the moment. My view right now is we're going to see a tactical end-year rally until Christmas. Crypto will definitely join the party, in my opinion, if we don't see those issues that we see in the last 2 days. These are definitely not constructive things for the prices. But I think in general, this is on the constructive side. That's also why u-zyn and I have come out and have committed 30 million DUSD to be put into D tokens. And we want to ride that tactical rally until the end of the year, until Christmas. So that's where I'm standing a bit at the moment. Fabio, your thoughts, your comments, what do you see?
Previously, I think we had our last episode exactly, I think 24, 36 hours ahead of the Fed meeting. And you said the rate hike is, you said 75 basis points and it's priced in, which was perfectly the case. And you also hinted at that the speech is more important than the actual rate hike, which also was true. And just regarding the speech, he was very committed in his speech, but he hinted at one thing. He said they are looking to slow down the rate hikes. So they're going to keep hiking, but they are looking to slow it down. And the market is pricing in exactly that. So we have probably in December or maybe in January, he was not very specific on that, but we can expect going from 75 to 50 basis points, very likely, probably, if not in December, then in January. And as Julian just mentioned, the CPI numbers and the unemployment numbers are going to be the key factor in determining what they will do. And regarding maybe just one thing, so I expect that Elon taking over Twitter and firing a lot of people will become sort of a playbook that a lot of companies will look at, because there's so many bloated companies with a lot of people that earn crazy salaries. A lot of people with six-figure salaries and big companies with thousands and thousands of employees that enjoyed cheap capital and a bull market like no other. And now they're like, okay, maybe we have a little bit too much people, and are they really providing value? And they're looking at Elon, at how he is approaching Twitter, and they're probably going to use that as a playbook. So I can see not only the big tech companies, but also other companies firing a lot of people. And just looking at Elon on how he does Twitter. On Meta, because Facebook has a really, really bad name, and I think that's also the reason they know that they are not a fan favorite, and that's also why they changed their name to Meta. But I'm not interested in the social media Facebook, because in my opinion it's a dying platform. It's a boomer platform. It's just old people there. The young people don't want to use it. But what's definitely interesting, and MKBHD, this is a tech YouTuber, he actually made a fantastic video about Meta, which he just looked at their VR and AR headsets. And they practically own this whole market. They buy everything that is coming up. They have great tech, and they're investing, I think, 10 to 15 billion a year into this tech. And it's super interesting because they have a few key techs like facial recognition, which with micro expressions, which they are way ahead of everybody else. And if the market is moving into that direction, if VR and AR becomes a thing and Facebook is playing, or Meta is playing its card right, it could be a very interesting investment, especially because the stock price is down 80%. And a lot of people are looking more at the social media play than at the VR AR play. So I think it's interesting to look at. There's not financial advice or an investment advice or anything, but it's definitely an interesting company to look at if you want to add a virtual reality or an augmented reality play. The only variable there is, of course, if you have another big company like Google or Apple, which they are rumored to go into that direction as well. Especially Apple has a lot of patents and a lot of people that they hired in that sector. And of course, if Apple brings out something, it's usually a very refined product. So they spent a lot of research and development, they had a lot of time of developing that, and they're probably gonna, if they are going to release something, it's probably going to be a good product. So this is maybe the variable in that play. But it's definitely, I'm also kind of bullish for the remainder of the year. The only thing that kind of gives me a little bit of bearish vibes is Celsius 2.0 in form of FTX, which I really hope this doesn't blow up. I hope that we have more drama, so that the food is not as hot as it's cooked. That's at least fingers crossed what I'm hoping for, because there is nothing good coming out of a big player like that blowing up. And so fingers crossed that everything works out fine. Fingers crossed that CPI numbers come in 7.9, 7.8. That would be great. And
I think even 8, I mean, as long as it doesn't go higher than 8. So if it's like 8 or lower, I mean, if there's a 7 in front, I mean, I think that would be really people would be really getting bullish. So, yeah. I mean, you see it today, right? I mean, crypto's down significantly. The stock market futures are slightly up, right? So just that kind of split already. And we have seen the same kind of yesterday. So, at the moment, the crypto markets understandably are just a bit kind of shell shocked and just waiting for what's gonna happen, understandably. And look, I try to say this so many times, and people really struggle with this. If you want to be a great investor, not a great gambler, a great investor, you know when to hold them, you know when to fold them, you know when to walk away. And in this case, you really understand that maybe at the moment it's not the perfect time to sit there and start betting on these short-term movements. Now, if you are someone who believes long-term in FTT or in Solana, and you're like, hey, you know what? Like, this has no fundamental change to Solana. This is just basically some people kind of juggling for liquidity. And I always wanted to get in Solana, and now I'm getting this great deal. No brainer. Like, completely aligned here. But this is not that you're trying to trade this over the next 8 hours. You're trying to trade this over the next 3 years, right? A totally different kind of approach. And so to me, it's the same with crypto right now, right? If you're sitting here and like, should I buy Bitcoin or should I buy Ethereum right now? Because maybe over the next 8 hours, this is going to pop if all of this gets resolved. Bad decision making, right? Don't do that. If you now go and say, oh man, like I actually think no fundamental change to Bitcoin, no fundamental change to Ethereum, no fundamental change to DeFi chain. Let me use this opportunity to buy the dip because I mean, there's no fundamental change. I'm going to see this long term. I think that is solid, rational decision making. So that is just what I kind of really want to focus on at the end here. And I know that look, we do have mostly users on our platform that are long-term hodlers. That is how Cake DeFi is set up, and we do have people who want to take control of their financial destiny, who see this long term, and I think that's really good. And yeah, and that's why I'm also really proud of our user base and kind of community there. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to just kind of highlight here at the end. Anything, Fabio, on your side that you feel we left out that we need to add here at the end?
No, I think we said it all. It's a great summary at the end. Follow us on socials. If you just tuned in now and you missed the beginning, definitely head over to YouTube, to Spotify, or to Apple Podcast, which you can where you can find the whole episode. And if you're not a customer yet, go and sign up to for the Cake DeFi account.
Full on, congrats and thank you for being part of this community. It's really amazing to see all these people taking charge, spreading the positive word, and being so supportive. That's always nice to see. And yeah, with that, Fabio, thanks so much for a great episode. Appreciate it. It was fun. And yeah, tune in next Tuesday. If you're following on YouTube or somewhere else, then subscribe, follow, like, share. So yeah, more people get to see this. Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe. All the best. Thank you.